the thing that makes you and I different from everybody else is we still have a lot of receipts, even though we're not exaggerating on 1, 2, 3 things we didn't do.
He like, man, Tarik, you doing it? I'm like, what? This is. I'm like, this is doing it.
Yeah.
I'm like pissed. I'm like, if this is doing it, I don't want that. Yeah. But wait, do you got any contractors for demo? You got any contractors for framing? You got? What do I do with the permits? Oh damn, the city shut me down. 10%.
What's up, man? How you feeling?
I'm great, bro. I'm great, man. Appreciate you having me, man.
No, so like how I like to start all my conversations, just in life in general. I like to always give people their flowers, cause you never know, and also never knowing that, like, but also you never know how people don't understand how they helped you, And so I always start like, I appreciate you for, just being yourself, and then putting me in position to win on a long-term play. I always say when people ask me your mentors, I always say I got a couple mentors, but I got like 2 main mentors. I would say like somebody helped me with like trying to make cash like today in the next hour, and somebody trying to make wealth over a long time. I feel like you helped me like, think long-term wealth instead of just trying to make some quick cash real quick, but instead like helping like long-term wealth. I remember we had the conversation, you was like, yo, at the baby shower and stuff, you was like, yo, I'm making sure we setting up plays for your son to be good for forever, and I respect stuff like that. Definitely appreciate that.
Word, I appreciate that, bro. Appreciate
that. No. So, me and you always talk all the time. We talk every day on day about different plays and different moves. Just want to touch in because I know when we met. It's funny how we met. We met off Instagram.
Yeah. And like, people probably like what 2016, 2017.
People don't even dig, and I think the biggest thing with us, one, first and foremost, we made money together like any and every type of way. We bought a house together, rented, sold, off market. We did every single thing you could think of. But the key part with us that I want people to understand is everything isn't always out of the sandbox. Like I met you off Instagram 3 years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? However, we did made moves as if we knew each other from back 5th grade.
Right. Yeah.
And a lot of people are scared to go ahead and make money and do business with people they just met yesterday for whatever reason. And that might be like when I'm talking to like my mentees and stuff, I say, yo, make sure while you in this Facebook group, make sure you connecting with the person next to you. The person, if somebody comments that they live in Philly, you live in Philly, connect. That person might be the person that's going to be your next $1 million deal or your next $5,000 check. You never know.
Yeah, definitely. I feel that because oftentimes we are. You heard the saying, you are the average of the people you surround yourself around, right?
Facts.
And especially in our community, we kind of want. It's a few phrases that's synonymous with our culture, like getting it out the mud, getting it from the muscle, and getting it with my day ones. You know what I'm saying? And there's nothing wrong with that, but the reality is your day ones your day ones got you to where you at right now, right? So if we know that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, right? So if your day ones got you to this point right now, you trying to get to here, you know what I mean? You trying to get here, something has to change. And if you are the average of the people you surround yourself around, your average need to increase if you want to increase your level, right? So I think that's very important to keep in mind when we networking and we build in relationships with people like that, healthy, good relationships, symbiotic relationships where, it's an exchange of good energy and good income and information, but not always just kind of like anchoring ourselves to that day one concept, because that same day one concept could be, it can not only keep you at that level, actually could take you down.
It can bring that's for a fact.
And vice versa, like even with new people that you might meet as well. You know what I mean? So very important to keep that in mind.
I feel like whether it's new or old, you definitely have to continuously audit your circle. Make sure you doing a random audits, making sure everybody is solid. But also, like you said, I think honestly, just not even just this aspect, but just life in general, people let these unwritten rules dictate their whole life. Like this isn't written nowhere. Like day one, like this is something that people just made up. Like unwritten rule. Like that's like in life. Hey, you're supposed to do this, or you're supposed to do this. But whole time, who made that up? Like where did that even come from?
Rappers.
Yeah, like you know what I mean. Like this not really.
Yo, a lot of times we living off of things that people put out for entertainment.
Yeah, the rhyme and something.
We base a lot of our morals and principles off of things that people have created as a facade, bro. You know what I'm saying? And it's like it's so crazy because the things that people idolize, the people who have made it cool in a rap or a movie or whatever, that's not even them actually. You know what I mean? And you get caught up in the matrix of thinking that that's what you're supposed to be doing.
The matrix.
You know what I mean? And for real, like you're just in a whirlwind. You know what I mean?
No, that's a fact though. A lot of these dudes aren't really, whether it's positive stuff or negative stuff, that's not really them. You know what I mean? It's just so happened. I remember I was listening to some interview, and the guy, I forgot what rapper it was, he was talking, and then they asked him like, yo, so how did that really play out? He was like, no, it just, that word, I needed it because it rhymed with, they were like, oh, like, you know what I mean?
See, and I guess that's a whole nother conversation, like as far as like hip hop and stuff, right? But you had like, I always gravitate toward the hip hop artists who's like, who they stand on what they say so firmly. Like if they had a lyric where they said I was on such and such and Diamond, if I was on this corner, they like, no, I really was out there doing this. Like they want to make sure like people can validate what they say.
Check.
Now, you know, kind of sound old. I guess you sound like an old head talking this way, but it's the reality. Like, you know, the last 10, years, 15, 20 years of hip hop and stuff like that is just like, you know, I'm just saying it because it rhymed.
It rhymed.
You know what I mean?
just needed that block because it rhymed with this first word I said. But I'm like 5 blocks that way.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I'm on the other side of town. I'm not even in that city. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. A lot of, you know, we talk about receipts and stuff like that. A lot of reality.
Receipts.
A lot of things that we live by. We not even validating if what was said is actual facts from that individual or from that particular entity, whatever it might be that is kind of established that, and we thinking like, oh, that's what we supposed to be following. You don't even know if that's the truth. You know what I mean?
And that's what I like about you said the word receipts, and I think that's where we click because we on the same page. You know me, I don't talk about nothing that I ain't really done. I ain't really, you know, you might even say like, let's say for example, I'll say I walked 10 blocks, but you win an award if you 11. People like, no, I walked 10. I didn't walk 11. I'm not even going to exaggerate. I'm not even going to gas it up. And you similar the same way.
What's the point?
You similar the same way. Like I'm talking about what I did. Yeah. But the thing that makes you and I different from everybody else is we still have a lot of receipts, even though we're not exaggerating on 1, 2, 3 things we didn't do. Like for example, like how many units do you have now?
Give or take like 60 or so plus.
Exactly. But now you can pull up HUDs. You can pull up sheets, you can pull up cozy rents, you know what I mean? You can pull up X, Y, and Z, keys, doorknobs, like you can pull up some stats behind it. But that's the difference with why we're not stressing to go ahead and exaggerate certain things because our real life is perfectly fine. Like, you know what I mean? Our real life is what it is, you know, where other people like, like, you know, let me round up to something.
The thing, this is what I think about when you talk about receipts with people, right? And just like kind of documentation to support the things you're talking about, right? What I've realized and I've learned just from observation is people are always concerned about people knowing their stats to be able to compare it to them instead of running their own race, right? So like for me, like I don't have a problem like sharing how many properties I own if I know the exact number. I don't have a problem with sharing the amount of units that I own and operate if I know the exact number, right? Like you asked me, I gave you a ballpark because that's the ballpark that I know.
We just throwing up shots, we ain't counting them.
But I think oftentimes people will avoid that because they don't want to not be seen as the authoritative figure or run the risk of being looked at as less of because of the persona that they have had people have perceived
That's
about.
the key problem,
You know what I mean?
right there.
Because it's like, so
So,
like, if you think like, oh man, like Reek, Reek at least got like 1,000 properties at this point, right? You know what I mean? And I say, no, actually I got 30, right? And you're like, what? Oh, all right. Now 30 is still a lot in theory.
like,
You know what I mean?
that's
Like,
at the end of
I'm
the day,
30
you
years
look
old.
at
That's a property a year. You know what I'm saying?
if you think about it, if you really think about it, that is not normal. Or we're making it normal, but like, so I'm still
right. But
still
for some,
winning.
for some reason, you know what I mean? I don't have. I want it to be motivation. I'm big on now more than ever documenting the process and also reflecting on the process. And that's just the educator in me. I always like to reflect on the process, and I share the process with people because I want them to understand that, yeah, this version of Tarik that you see right now came from the same scenario that you are in right now, if not worse. And here's how I was able to maneuver through it. Oh, you didn't have good credit. Okay, been there, done that. Oh, you didn't have any money. Okay, been there, done that. Oh, you didn't have support. Been there, done that. You know what I mean? And then kind of document the process, because oftentimes people will see the end goal and can't visualize it or put themselves in that mode because of what their current reality is. You know what I mean?
like you said that, document the process. I got a question for you. So, you pretty much good at documenting the process and, over rehabs, properties you bought, and just experiences.
Yeah.
So
I got better with it more recently.
But you still keep HUDs and whatever.
The HUDs for sure.
Yeah. So, which is the receipt of the transaction. So what happened to me the other day is I was going through my laptop. So I have a folder for every LLC. And, we buy properties in different LLCs, and it hit me. And I'm looking on the table, it hit me. I'm going through my folders. I was getting a file for something, whatever. And I was clicking on LLCs. I'm like, dang, I own this house, I own this house, and I own this house. And I still got long ways to go. But I had that reflecting. I'm like, dang, I'm really, buying some houses. I really got a couple spots, from houses to lots to multis. Like, yo, it's really starting that. I had that not that aha moment, but that reflecting moment that you just said, looking back, like, it's starting to work. You know what I mean? It start like I really, like, I'm going between 2-3 projects at one, like it's starting to pivot. So when was that moment for you, like, when you look back, like, oh shoot, I got like 5 spots. Oh shit, I got like 10 spots. Like, dang, it's really starting to, because you had your head down so long, I'm just trying to buy stuff. You never really look back and like, oh shoot, like, I got rent coming in from more than one place right now. Like, dang, it's really starting to click.
Well, first and foremost for me with real estate and investing in general, I'm so passionate about it that oftentimes I'm just doing it. I'm on autopilot, just doing it, right? And because I'm in that mode, I'm not really thinking about how many transactions I'm doing at this point in my life. It's like if you passionate about playing a sport like basketball or something like that, and you're
not counting workouts.
Exactly. You're not getting up and being like, at the end of the month, you like, yo, I worked out of 30 days, I worked out 27 days. You know what I mean? I worked out 28 days. You just like, yo, I was balling. How many times you balled this week? I don't know. Like, I just was doing it. Like, I pop up and go play ball right now. If that's what you passionate about. You know what I'm saying? So I feel that way with real estate, but every once in a while, more recently, as I like approach milestone as far as like, age goes and turning 30, I had that reflective moment recently, just kind of looking back like, okay, so what have we done thus far? You know what I mean? And I realized like how many properties that I bought so far. And what I did was I actually listed. So I bought my first property in 2013, into 2013. So you closed on in 2014.
7 years. Like, people don't understand. Yeah. Like the gram not new for you. You've been on the gram, but as far as being active,
being active on Instagram is definitely something more recent for me.
But property acquisition is not recent, and that's the thing I want people to understand. Like, This 2013 to 2020. That's 7 years.
Yeah, bro, and it didn't happen.
2020. That's going on 8 years.
Yeah, it didn't happen like right away. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was operating off of what I knew, like how we referred to earlier. Like, you know what I mean? You gonna know what you know based off of the people around you, because that's who make that kind of, you know, that's a culmination of who we are, is the people who surround us and the things that that we pour into ourselves overall. And when I first started, like, I was 21 years old, 22 years old, got that first property. Like, I was just trying to figure it out. You know what I'm saying? And what I did was, as I was reflecting, I listed all the properties that I bought from that time to now. And what the most important part of it was, because I've done this before, but this is the first time I did it this way. I listed the property, I listed the month and year that I bought it, and I listed how many units it totaled to.
It holds.
Because I kind of wanted to get myself a report card.
Right.
And what I saw was that
Give yourself a report card.
Yeah. Because I'm like, all right, what you did with your life in 30 years so far? You know what I mean? So what I realized was that from like 2016 to 2017, I just seen a double up. I seen I would honestly
say that.
Yeah.
It's funny. I was talking about you. Who was I talking to you about? I think it was my wife. I was talking about you. I think it was my wife and my little cousin. It's only 2 people that be in my house. So I was talking about when I was planning out who I'm talking to, and I said, yo, he bought his first property in 2013 or 2014. I was like a rough around year, and I was like, yo, but when I tell you I met him, I heard about him and found out about him. We communicated through Instagram in 2016, but I would say in 2016 he grabbed like a spot or 2 or 3. But I said when 2017 this dude got like a jolt, and next thing you know it's like I said, I met you in 2016. That whole year, you probably grabbed like 2-3 spots or whatever. Yeah. I don't know the exact number. I don't want to disrespect you, but 2017, look. 2017, it's like somebody put a battery in your back. Or 2017, 2018, somebody put a battery in your back. Next thing you know, you like, yeah, I got 9 units closing this week.
So
the hell?
So what happened in 2016, bro, was a couple of things. I made a commitment to myself first and foremost, because I remember. So I started in 13. Finally closed like a property. I got the property under contract in 2013. Finally closed at the beginning of 2014. And so you basically have 2.5 years where I didn't do anything.
You was figuring it out.
I'm working on that one property.
Figuring it out.
And then 2016 came along.
2 years turned into 2 months. 2-year rehab turned into 2-month rehab.
Right, exactly. So now in 2016, I bought another property, right? And I was kind of having a reflective moment then. I was like, yo, like, if this going to go to the next level that I want to, I have to commit to it. And I always talk to people about like that level of commitment, you know what I mean? Like, and trying to be like straddling the fence of our goals. You know what I mean? A lot of us are straddling the fence of our goals, right? And what I mean by that is like, basically, let's just say if somebody out here listening to this and they say, I want to be a real estate investor, right? But what I'm going to do is work on my craft and becoming a real estate investor on the weekends, on Saturdays and Sundays, right?
You're not serious.
Right, you're not serious, right? And that was me. Like, I had this whole elaborate plan, bro. Like, I was like, all right, well, look, I'm gonna leave my job, right? But before I leave my job, I'm gonna get another job that's closely related, kind of, sort of, to real estate, right? I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna sell insurance and all that. Like, I'm thinking this in my head.
So you subconsciously doing real estate, but it's not the front end.
Yeah. Like, so I'm like, all right, so I'm going through the whole thing. I'm transitioning out of leaving my day job as an educator, right? And I'm transitioning into getting into real estate full time. I'm now wholesaling and I'm making a little bit of money there. I'm stacking my money. I got my rental my one rental property, and I got this other property that I just acquired. So now I'm at this point where I'm like, all right, well, we got something here a little bit, right? So, all right, I'm like, still kind of in that mindset of I need that job. And there's no knock on jobs because everybody entrepreneurs that we
killed.
Yeah, we get
I tell people not to quit their
we get
jobs
drilled
unless
all
you
day
really-
long. Yeah, we get
unless
drilled
you
all day long
really-
for quitting or telling people to quit their job. I'm not that person. I'm saying if you don't feel like you happy there,
You gotta do what you gotta do.
that's with anything in
Yeah.
life. If you're not happy, relationships, business wise, whatever wise, spiritually,
what you
you need to
gotta do.
do something differently.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? I'm a problem solver, like very solution
Cut the
driven. Like,
cancer out.
yeah, what's okay? It's a problem with solution. That's it.
Yeah.
I ain't even trying to keep dwelling too much on what the problem is. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So I'm there at that moment. I'm straddling the fence of my goals. So I'm like, okay, well look, this ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna work this way. Something gonna have to give. So I had to just jump in head first with it, and I jumped in head first, and I gave myself a quota of how much money I needed to make, basically off of what I was currently doing in wholesaling. And I pretty much gave myself a deadline. Those deadlines are super important. A lot of us have goals and we don't give them deadlines, right? So we say, oh, I want to do something, but we don't say, I want to do it by this date. And it's okay that if you don't do it by that date, however, you got to hold yourself accountable.
I feel like a goal without a deadline is a wish.
Exactly.
A goal with a deadline is a plan. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah. A dream, what is it? A dream without a plan of action, a thought without a plan of action is just a dream, right? You know what I'm saying? So
My grandpa always say, a man without a plan plans to fail.
There you go. There you go. So that's where I was at. So I said, all right, well, look, I'm going to give myself this quota. I'm doing this wholesaling thing now. I got my rental property cash flowing. I need to make
It was
the
at one
equivalent-
property at the time, right?
One property
That's
was
the
2
duplex.
units.
That's the
Yeah.
duplex. Got you.
So I'm like, okay, well, and I'm making, wholesale checks and stuff like that from the wholesale model of, continuing that. So I gave myself a quota to make the equivalent amount of what my day job was making me at that moment, which was after taxes only $27,000 a year, bro. Like, mind you, like just a little brief background on me. I got a bachelor's degree in education. I had at that point in time 5 years of experience of working in the field already. I was in grad
This is
school.
social, not social work, teacher, education.
Education, yeah. So I was in special education, working with people with disabilities. I'm at that age, I was at pretty much almost like at that level that a lot of people wanted to be in, like when they several years into their profession. Like I had already been working at on the post-secondary education level. I was working at a university as an educator. You know what I'm saying? Like it really don't, it was.
The crazy thing that I just took from that, you just said something like, after Texas, I made $27,000. I had a bachelor's degree and I had 5 years experience, and I'm at this level that people want to be on.
Yeah.
The problem that I just caught from that is people don't think big.
Yep.
Round up $30,000 a degree and 5 years of experience is the goal where people want to be at. Whole time it's a whole what you about to get into, but there's a whole lot of room after that.
The problem is, bro, I think is we associate there's a disconnect in between certain status positions and the earning income from it, right? So like for me in particular as an educator, because even as I'm not in like teaching formally for a school, I'm an educator at heart. That's what I'm also equally passionate about, right? As an educator, we are held to a high standard in terms of being the pillars of the community, people who literally educate everybody on everything. But the correlation of what we make, it wasn't there.
Yeah.
It's still not there, right?
Yeah, I think that's not fair, but that's another conversation.
Yeah. Shout out to the educators.
Yeah,
You know
that's
what I
a
mean?
whole
We gotta
nother
do something
convo.
about that, right? But that was the reason why I left, because I'm like, oh, I can't make the same type of income and impact here. And that was what it was. I need to make an impact while making income. That's my goal. That's been my goal from the beginning. Because I always felt like, well, damn, like the more that I earn, the more that I can do for others.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like thinking about going back to like that timeline, I said, all right, well, I need to make that. I ended up like deciding like this, again, that plan. I said, okay, I need to make $27,000 a year. So what I did was I outlined exactly what I was going to do to make that $27,000, right? because you can't just be saying you're going to do something without a plan of action for it.
Wish.
Right, exactly. So I'm working 9 to 5. I said, all right, for when I get off at 9 to 5, I got to make sure I handle family obligations and things of that nature from 5 until about 8 o'clock. And from 9 to 12, I need to bust my ass every single night. Now, with that being said, of course it didn't happen every single night,
You
right?
got things.
Yeah.
You might have crashed one
Right.
day. You got
Right.
know, friends, birthday, whatever.
So, but that was my plan of action for every single day, including weekends.
80% of the year was to that. Yeah.
And I tell you, bro, like, we don't realize how much time we have on our plate that we waste. So I actually started utilizing that 9 to 12 time, and sometimes it'll run over 2, 3 in the morning. Like I pop up, I'm like, oh my gosh, like
That's
that.
passion.
Right, yeah, because you
Dedication.
fueled by that passion, right? So before you know it, fast forward 3 or 4 months later, I had already made that amount that I was making every year after taxes.
So let's do this math real quick, right? So for somebody they're working 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, whatever that amount is over 12 months, whatever that math is over 12 months, making $30,000, right? Working 8 hours a day. Whereas though you work 3 hours a night, 5 or 7 days a week, which some days you didn't, for
That's
4
a minimum
weeks in a
15
month,
extra hours a month.
4 months, and you literally made that same amount of money.
Yep.
Just by doubling down on your passion and what you was dedicated on. That's the thing I want people to understand. Like, once you double down and lock in on what you want to do, there is no cap.
Yeah.
There is no cap. At one point, you thought 30,000 was the cap. I don't say you thought, but at that moment, 30,000 was the cap.
Yeah.
You changed, had that swift shift in your mind. You said, look, in my mind, I know I can do more than this. You doubled down. You did it in 3 months with a quarter of the time.
Yeah. I mean, would you also think, like, for me, I was the first person in my household and my immediate family to go away to college and graduate successfully, right?
So in your family, you breaking curses.
Exactly.
Back to back.
They like, man, Tarik, you doing it. I'm like, what? This is. I'm like, this is doing it.
Yeah.
I'm like pissed. I'm like, if this is doing it, I don't want that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So a part of that was also fueling it as well, bro. And then once I got to that point, I started just really doubling down and reinvesting into my education. And as I started to learn more about how to creatively finance deals, because at this point I'm doing what I know. So now, even after me starting to make a lot of money in wholesale, and I actually made well over that $27,000 mark in that 4-month time span, actually about 3 times that amount. And I took it right back to the table and bought cribs cash.
Right.
Like I had already did previously. And then 2017 happened, and by the end of 2017, I was confident in my ability to start doing more creative financing and leveraging. And from that,
that's the word I want to talk about today.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm glad you said that, because I feel like it's crazy, right? Sometimes it's annoying, but I love it though. You the biggest. Like, your middle name should be leverage. You leverage pretty much everything that I know you can probably leverage. But it makes sense, though. You know what I mean? Like, and one of the things I noticed, I want to touch on, one of the things I noticed you did, which I think you about to go into like 2017, 2018, damn sure 2020, you leverage certain relationships with these financing companies, with people, partners, individuals, credit banks and stuff like that to get what you need, but everybody still wins at the end of the day.
A great business transaction when everybody leave the table happy. You know what I mean? I learned that early on, and that I pulled that from being in that mix early on at that $27,000 a year job. So there's a lot of gems to pull from working in corporate America or just working in a formal job structure.
I
if
learned
you
one
know
of my
what to
biggest
pay
skills at
attention.
McDonald's. Like, just gotta really look for that stuff.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, I mean, that's a multi-billion-dollar company.
Yeah.
Like, if you pay attention enough, but most people who working at McDonald's, I worked at McDonald's in high school too. How many of us are really looking there to look at the business structure of it to apply it to our companies? You know what I'm saying?
But looking at how many
hindsight
chickens I can get for free.
Right. Right, exactly. But yeah, like, so as I started to learn to leverage, bro, that's when this light switch clicked. So now I'm all hustle and passion going into 2017. I got several properties that I own free and clear. I got cash flow coming in, and you couldn't tell me that nobody was gonna outwork me. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how I'm looking at it. I'm like, I don't care. Oh, you work 23 hours? Well, guess who working 24?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And if it was an extra half hour in there, some kind of day or extra day on a leap year, I was gonna get that one too. You know what I'm saying? Like, so like I was going in 2017 like that, and I'm like, all right, let's go time, you know. And for me, like, everything that I've ever done in life, I always jump head first into it. Like I'm like one of those. I'm just one of those people. Like, if
we'll figure out how to fly on the way down.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm not really like I'm a study it long or hard, but when I start it, I'm going there with it. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
That's
like,
good though.
I'm going
that's good though. You're not scared.
Yeah, like it's that theory of like sharpening your blade, spending time sharpening your blade. So when you cut it, it's a clean one.
Clean.
You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna cut it with a dull knife. That's gonna be the sharpest, shiniest knife that you gonna see. You know what I'm saying? So like, that's how I was with it. And I started learning about the BRRRR strategy and creative financing. It's literally, I've reflected on this one YouTube video that I used to watch over and over and over again from an investor, like this foreign dude that like I came across him like just in like down in Richmond, Virginia, when I was living down
Asian
there.
dude?
Nah.
Because this one, I don't even know his name.
I think it's a Russian guy. Yeah, I gotta like find his name. I don't be giving nobody shout outs. I sent it to you, but they ain't paying us.
Right.
But no, I send you the video. But like, that's literally how I learned. So people always talk about like, man, nobody giving up free game, you giving up fluff information and stuff like that, right? People talk, I see that all the time in the comments and all that and everything. I be like, yo, I be looking at certain stuff that you post and a lot of people post. I'm like, yo, they don't realize this is a lot of good information.
Like, you but could really win off this.
Yeah, like, you know, we live in an instant gratification society, though. You know what I mean? All of us just want like microwave success. When in reality, it's like, yo, you 20-something years old, you've been living in poverty all this time in your life. You expect to get out of it in 5 minutes off of an Instagram post. Like, come on. Like, are you serious? You playing yourself.
6 months. You want to kill 20-something years in 6 months.
Yeah.
You want to kill 100 years in 6 months.
Right. Yeah, you don't want to do no work. You don't want to do no extra heavy lifting, no nothing. Like, yo, like, you know what I mean? I always tell my mentees, like, y'all want to skip leg day, man. Like, y'all got to stop trying to skip leg day. Think y'all going to be super athletes.
People don't want to, the people want to skip leg day and don't even pay for the gym membership. people want to go ahead and change a whole culture in 6 months, but don't even pay for the membership.
Like, no, I'm gonna run the steps and I'm gonna do some squats and I'm gonna cheat the system. Like, I'm gonna streamline it. But like, that's what happened for me during that time, though, bro. To get back to that, like, I learned the leverage game. And for me, it was just like a very simple formula. And I love to make complicated things super simple, because I was always taught that the measure of someone having a true understanding and command of something is to be able to simplify it and explain it very simply, right? Okay. So for me, when it comes to real estate, I just want to do one thing. I want to get the property for free.
That's you good at that leverage game.
I want to get the property for free. And with people like, to break that down, to simplify that, is if a house is going to cost you $20,000 out of pocket, out of your bank account, whatever you had to get that money from, you have to be able to, after the deal is all said and done, and we're talking about buying and holding properties, right? When you're buying it and renting it and keeping the cash flow.
You don't sell them, just run them out.
I want to get my $20,000 back in my pocket.
Now, I like how you think about it too. And one thing I say, but you had patience. Like, we had conversations where I'm like, yeah, I gotta bring 20,000 to the table, and you're like, I mean, if you wait 2 weeks, you might be able to get down to zero. I'm like, I got the 20. Let me just grab, like, He like, if you had a week, I think we can work this out to where you don't have to come out of pocket with nothing. So I think a mixture with patience, relationships, and the imagination to have being creative, you put all that together to really come in these deals with hardly anything. You know, just by putting all three of those things together, which is a skill out of this world, because now you have the opportunity to go in you can buy 10 a month if you wanted to, probably more than that.
Yeah, bro. Like, it's just, you know, once you get to the point, and it was what I've realized and just learned to continue to embrace it and improve upon it, is like when you become the person that can make stuff happen and creatively and utilize your resources and your ability to be able to always have a solution to a problem, you always have a place in a deal.
Right,
you know what I mean? Like, at one point, and that place in the deal is all. You know, you go through different phases of it. At one point in time, I was a person out there aggressively finding the deals off market. You know, and then
now you constructing the deal.
See, I've learned every phase of the process by default, because when I first started out, it wasn't people pumping all this value content out, right? When I was hitting people on Instagram or trying to figure out who I could pay for mentorship and stuff like that, people didn't even have it like that. You know, they had the big box versions of it, you know, like the ones that you would see on TV, on infomercials on the late night and stuff like that. But it wasn't something that I could connect with. But when I would see people that looked like me that I wanted to learn from, they didn't have that formal structure yet. But because I'm solution based, I wasn't about to wait for them to create it either. So I had to figure it out on the fly.
That'd have been 5 years.
Right, exactly. Like now we in the era of information and it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Right. But because of that, I was able to learn on the front end. What was it like to buy properties cash? What was it like to rehab properties cash? What was it like to actually be in the properties doing the work myself? What was it like to have not so great financing, like where I got loans for 17% interest rates and stuff like that.
Damn.
You know what I'm saying? Like, been in situations where I had properties that I thought it was going to be $100,000 to rehab it, but it was $150,000. Where does the $50,000 extra come from?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like having scenarios where contractors run off on you and stuff like that, and then you left holding it back. Had scenarios where things didn't go well on certain deals I was trying to close, and had money tied up in deposits and stuff like that. So I've gone through all those phases, even like from all phases of real estate, from sourcing the deal, funding the deal, structuring the construction phases of the deal, stabilizing the property, and managing it long term. So now it's pretty much everything.
You're a well-oiled machine as far as knowledge and experience on how it works. So now it's 2016, 2017, that pivot where it's like, okay, we turning 1 into 2. Like we doubling down, we tripling down. Yeah. And you started really tapping into financing, you know, to really leverage you bringing us less money to closing, right? And I want to touch on that because I think I think the way you do it is a skill in itself, by thinking outside of the box and being super creative how you do it. So what would you say, how would I say it? What would you say is for someone that's watching, they're like, yo, look, I'm trying to figure out how I can start doing it. How can I start bringing, because I have 40 grand. I got some money to go ahead and buy something, you know, whether it's a down payment or something in cash. But I like how he's able to buy multiple things with the same 40 or nothing at all. Like, how would you say someone to start that lane? Obviously, you're not going to do it right out the gate, but to start that process, so by the time the end of the year, they're on their way to what you're doing.
I would say that, and I would back it up a little bit, anytime somebody says they are lacking something, I always tell them that they have a strategy problem. You know what I mean? So like, if somebody say, I don't got money, I need some money to, I'm trying to save up. I'm like, no, you don't need money, you need a better strategy. My credit is messed up. Well, your credit is not the problem. Your strategy is the problem.
Right.
Oh, well, I can't put this rehab budget together. It's not the rehab budget. It's your strategy. You know what I mean? So like, I think
that's behind everything too.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's always a solution to it. Now, with that, you got to give up a little to get a little sometimes, right? So like, if you are one of those people that have cash in hand, right, and you want to make deals happen, there's an abundance of people out there that have deals with no cash.
Yeah.
There's an abundance of people out there with deals.
There's a whole job title for that.
Yeah. Yeah, literally.
Wholesaler.
There's
a
wholesaler,
whole job
right?
title for that.
Right. You know what I mean? So you got all these people where you could be the missing piece to the puzzle, right? Sometimes you'll find where if it's 5 pieces and you got 4 of those 5, you find yourself having more leverage in the deal. And then that 5th person, you come in, now you got a strategy, and then you got to get creative with the financing and creative with the deal structure. You know what I mean? So what I would say to somebody that has a scenario like you said where they got $40,000 and they want to get started, I would say first evaluate themselves.
Figure out their worth.
Yeah, figure out, because that's very important. When I first started out, I had friends who had cash and stuff like that, and they're like, yo, Reek, what's up, let's do something. I got $100,000. And
you
I'm
gave
like,
them a better deal than they needed to get.
Yeah, in some cases. And then as I grew more, I was like, nah, I'm good. They like, come on, like, yo, let's go 50-50. I'm like, oh, what are you bringing to the table? You know
cash.
what I mean?
Well, and you bringing 1 out of the 4. I got 1 out of the 5. I got 4.
Exactly. When you start to get into this business and still actually understanding this business from a higher level and seeing all the pieces that come together to make it one, you realize that money is a small piece of it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because there's so many different ways like that you can get money. You
but
know
everybody
what I mean?
can't manage a rehab. Everybody can't source it though. Everybody can't.
I would tell people sometimes when they have money and they think that's the only thing that you need in real estate is like, okay, well, go ahead out there and do it on your own and see how it works for you. You know what I mean? Like, I know people all day long, well, man, I'm just gonna take my $40,000, I'm gonna buy a crib, I'm gonna pay $40 for it. I got the money right now. Okay, cool. What about rehabbing it? I'll get another 40. Okay, all right. Well, how long does it take you to get the first 40? I saved that up for a few months or so, however you got it, whatever, okay. All right, in the midst of you doing that, right, you got something called an opportunity cost, right? So now you got that $40,000 tied up in the property, and then you're gonna go ahead and get another 40 that you, by the way, you know there ain't gonna be another rehab, right?
Yeah,
because you know you're gonna spend that 40 and then you're gonna look up and only a quarter of the house is done.
Yeah.
Then you gotta go get another 40 and then another 40.
HVAC can cost about 10 grand. So
true, lumber right now might cost lumber and labor might cost you the $40,000.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like boom, depending on the size of the house. You know what I mean? So like, what'll happen is now you fast forward to actually complete the project. You got 40 invested on the purchase and then 40. You spent $120,000 to rehab the property.
Yeah, you stuck.
You 160 in, right? And the property might only be worth $180,000.
That's a bad situation.
Yeah, that's why strategy is so important. Now, with strategy, you gotta start with the foundation, which is educating yourself. Like people really, really avoid the education part, and I understand why. And I think personally is because there's so much education out there. It's hard to differentiate between what's good and what's not,
and what is what.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the good ones, the not so good ones have made it bad for the good ones, right? So when you do give people that answer of where they should start first, they kind of cringe up a little bit. You know what I mean? It's like
they got burnt out from.
Right, exactly. It's like, dang, like, no, come on, man. I heard this before. Like people I talk to all the time, yo, Reek, where should I start? I was like, you need to invest in your education. You need to do some research. Oh man, you trying to spend me?
Yeah.
Like somebody literally just said that to me recently. Was like, oh man, everybody always telling me that y'all be trying to spend people with that. No, that's real. Like
it's mindset, learn and earn.
Yeah, like you got
mindset, then learn, then earn.
You got to
in that order, no other way.
You got to, and I like that because that's exactly what it is. You know what I'm saying? Now, of course, what I want people to understand about when I say education, and I think you probably agree with me on this. Education investing into your education is very similar to the education that you have obtained throughout your life. You didn't obtain K through 12 education in a couple of months, a couple of weeks, a weekend, a one-day class.
A decade plus.
Right. So with that being said, as you invest into your education, whether that be monetary or time-wise, understand that when you go into educating yourself, it's not going to happen instantly.
That's a good thing. That's a good point too, because now I see people all the time. They're like, yo, I was on your live, or, you know, I tapped into this book or this program April 1st. Yo, it's April 5th. I'm not a millionaire yet. But did you learn basic education in 5 days? That took 1st grade to 12th grade. 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, all the way to 12 years. But you expecting to learn this next level stuff in 5 days.
Yeah, people don't understand.
Off of Instagram
people
Live.
don't realize the stuff that
they asking of themselves.
Bro, like, I literally, like, before I got here, stood in a job site for 2 hours. Like, stood there, like, staring at a blank canvas with my team, trying to figure out what we was
how
going
to make it fit.
Yeah, how we were going to solve an issue that we had. You know what I mean? That 2 hours that it took for me to do that is a culmination of what I've done for the last 8 years. You know what I'm saying? I've done that probably 100 times.
Me and Ian just was talking about that. You don't pay a plumber for him being able to fix it in 10 minutes. You pay a plumber the amount of money for learning how to fix it over 10 years in 10 minutes.
Exactly. And that's what that's the goal for modern day education. It's Reek, show me what it took you 8 years to do in a shorter period of time. Now, if I can show you what I did in 8 years and now it takes you 2 years, right? That's a fraction of it. Like you say, that extra 75% of that's not wasted time for you. You got a whole extra 6-year head start. You know what I mean? And people don't look at it that way. They look at more of that instant gratification.
Nah.
You know what I mean?
Nah.
Bro, I've told people, like, I just break it down from a number standpoint, right? Like, I can sit down and break down a deal with someone, right? And tell them, like, I've done this before with my mentees. I've done it on Instagram Live before. And I'm like, yo, listen, that's not a good deal. And they were about to go ahead and close on this property. Now you think about the closing costs, the holding costs, and what it's going to cost you after you realize finally that you lost, right?
A few thousand.
Literally, like, if it's $20,000-$30,000 to close on the deal, and then you had to hold the loan for the whole 12 months because it was a bad deal to start with, right?
Probably got a high interest rate.
Yeah, let's just call it $1,000 a month, so that's an extra $12,000, right? You 30 in on the purchase price, that's $42,000, and then your $42,000 is tied up for that whole year. If let's just say I charge you $1,000 for a product, and you've learned how to evaluate the deal
and not spend for it, I just saved you 42 grand.
The difference is 42.
I just saved you 42 grand.
41. You know, 40. Like, you know, say $41,000 difference. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like now I'm in the mode where anything that I want to learn, I'm going straight to people who I think is the most qualified that I can get access to, and be like, yo, what is it going to cost me to streamline this process? I know it took you 3 or 4 years of trial and error. I want to cut that. If I cut that 3 to 4 years down into 1 year, I'm cool with that.
That's back to that leverage piece.
Yeah,
I'm leveraging.
I want to leverage your time, exchange
your time in exchange for money, so I can go to the next level. So that's why I really
because
like about
money
you.
flows. That's gonna come back. Exactly. I can't get that time back.
You can't, and that's what I really like about you. You learn how to leverage your life, leverage every aspect of your life to make it take you to the next level. Like you're literally like a slingshot. Like what am I leveraging to pull me back so I can go to the next place? You know, every year you're all right. How can I go boom? Who can I talk to leverage? I can leverage to pull me back some and shoot me out to the next, next year of my life, the next chapter, the next goal, the next opportunity. So what I want to go into is So like I said, it's 2017. You leveraging a lot of different things, whether it's partnerships, whether it's like you said, all right, I'm 4 pieces of this deal, you have the money, okay. You want to bring the money to this deal, and I'll go ahead and handle everything else. So that lowers your cost of closing. But in the same token, they're winning because they're being a part of an X amount of dollar deal.
Right.
But now another thing you started doing was, all right, I don't need to partner with everybody. I understand that, I can leverage that, but I don't need to do it for everybody. And I noticed you started tapping in with lenders more so. And one thing I noticed about you is you not only leverage, but you also build, so you're built. Like I would hear you say, like, I gotta sit down, I got a meeting with this lender, I got a lunch with this lender. Like, everybody not doing it. Like, you go ahead, you might have one meetup, or you call and put the loan application in, they approving it. We don't even, a lot of people don't even know what the lender looks like face-wise. Everything is online or over the phone. You're building these relationships to get 100% financing, to get 8% instead of 11%.
I live by a phrase when it comes to doing business. You only owe what you negotiate. All right. So like when it comes to business, like I want to be able to sit in front of the people who's making the decisions. And this just goes back to that piece of taking advantage of that job when you have it, right? When I had that job, I had the opportunity to sit across from like CEOs and, the deal makers and movers and shakers of Fortune 500 companies in some regards because of the role that I was in my previous employment.
Right.
And what I learned from it was, what I actually gained from it was confidence to sit at the table with anybody
and speak your mind.
You know what I mean?
You need.
Yeah, and then what I also learned in those scenarios is like you are gonna always have a lot more leverage if you understand what the end goal is of the person that you are negotiating with. So when it comes to lenders, and it's crazy, like so, like with a lender, right? They want a couple of things. They want to have qualified borrowers that's going to be able to give them a nice volume of deals, but also make sure that they aren't at a high risk of somebody they can foreclose on.
Yeah, they can mess up.
You know what I mean? So like, because the lenders are essentially a silent partner in a lot of your deals.
Basically.
You know what I mean? So they're a silent partner that you don't realize is there. Well, if you think about it that way, you have a better understanding of how it goes. So if you're using a hard money lender to finance a deal, that lender is going to give you the money to purchase a property and rehab it, right?
Fix it up and a return.
Right, and then get a return on their investment, right? However, if something does not go right and you don't pay them, they're gonna take the property.
Take that right back.
That's when they exercise their partnership.
Yeah,
right.
It's not a good fit. Let me just take over this right now.
So understanding that, you got to be able to figure out where they are. So like, my goal when I'm meeting with lenders and I'm building those relationships is to sit down with them and figure out what's your ideal borrower look like.
What do you need?
Okay, like, and once I understand that, and a lot of them are all very similar, I now know that I'm your ideal borrower, and I have a pipeline to other ideal borrowers like me, and I have value. So basic business principles, if you come in with value, you gotta give me better numbers.
Yeah.
Right.
So now you shifting the paperwork.
Yeah, because
shifting the terms.
Because you can't, like, if you go to, you're a fool if you go into, let's just say, you go to Walmart and you buy you're a corner store and you go in there and you buying you buying 100 cases
of toilet paper,
of sodas for your fridge, for your store. You ain't figured out yet that you need to go to the wholesale department or the wholesale entity of Walmart or some other entity that's going to sell it to you wholesale because you bringing in volume.
Instead of paying $1 so to get that for 50 cents.
Yeah. So like, that's how I look at it with the lenders. I'm like, hold up now. So the way I do things, remember, I refer to, like, I've already sharpened my knife. I'm not just gonna buy one deal And oh, by the way, I got an 8-year track record now. You can see. So see, the proof is in the pudding. The numbers is the numbers, right? All right. We talk like when we talk about like how sport contracts are negotiated. If you have a good agent, they're going to combine the analytics with your actual. They're going to bring up your analytics to support what they want you to make.
Right.
I'm the same way when it comes to a lender. I look at myself like an athlete. Listen, the analytics say that I double.
You want to give me this contract, but
Listen, I double every year. Like I went from 2 to 4, 4 to 6, 4 to 8, 8 to 16, MVPs. 16 to 32. Like it's like when you showing that growth, you say, listen, my portfolio is steadily growing X amount of dollars, and I can essentially project how many loans I'm going to close and or how much total amount of loans I'm going to close. It's up to you whether you're in that pool of people that I close with. So like this quarter, right, we closed about $3 million in loans for acquisitions.
This is the point of this conversation. Close $3 million worth of deals in one quarter.
Right.
That's stuff that everybody don't do in a lifetime. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
But I appreciate that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So no, we here, to really get into it a little bit, right? So if you're doing 3, and some people is like, I know I'm surrounding myself around people who's closing $30 million in loans, because that's what I'm sharpening a knife out for right now. I'm having sit downs with those people right now, right? Because we want the next meeting, we want to be talking about, so we're doing $300 million in loans a year and right? So $3 million in loans per quarter right now, right? So it's equivalent to $12 million for the year, right? That's the projection. When I'm talking to lenders, and we're looking at that and we're saying, look, this is what they want to hear. This is where we're progressing to. They don't want that money to go nowhere else. They want all 12 million of those loans that close with them, right? The reality is sometimes it don't happen that way. You know how it goes.
Right.
Like sometimes some deals just make more sense to go with different lenders. But hey, listen, we talking next quarter, the quarter after that, and the quarter to follow in 2022. Would love for you to be my preferred lender. I would think that you would love me to be.
However, we need to work on these terms.
Yeah.
Because me bringing you this amount of volume, this quality, you know what I mean? This is a bulk. This isn't just any old regular Douglas. I can't get the same rates that you're giving to people that's doing $200,000 in loans.
Yeah.
You know, they're doing a deal or two.
Yeah.
So we need to work these terms out. No, I respect that. I think that's an honest conversation, though.
Yeah, you owe what you negotiate. At the end of the day. So, but going into a negotiation, you have to understand both sides of it. What you bring to the table and what they need you to bring to the table, and what would be ideal for them. Right.
So my question is now somebody listening to this, and the guy, he got $40,000, and he was about to go cash out. He was about to go crazy and just cash out his old, pulling all his chips and $40,000. Now he listens to this, he's like, yo, Ree got a point. Like, let me start leveraging more, and let me start utilizing mine. But this is my first time, dealing with hard money. So maybe I'm still going to negotiate, but maybe I won't get to 100% finance on my first deal. How does a hard money deal work, and how can someone to get into that and set everything up?
So a hard money lender works as such. They're going to give you your purchase price. They're going to give you a percentage of the purchase price. Some of them will give you even 100% of the purchase price, right? And most of them are going to give you standard is 100% of the rehab budget, right? So let's just use round numbers. If you have a property that is $100,000 that you want to buy, and it needs an additional $100,000 of renovation.
So $100 on the purchase, $100 on the fix up.
That hard money lender may say, hey, listen, Derek, we'll give you 80,000 of that 100 to purchase the property, and then we will give you 100% of the $100,000 that you need to renovate the property. So they want you to have a little skin in the game, right?
$20,000.
So that means you're going to bring $20,000 toward the purchase price. They're going to cover the 80, right? And then you're going to pay them what's called an origination fee, which is what basically how they make their money up front, and then you're going to pay them.
I like to call it the cost of doing business fee.
Yeah, there you go.
It don't go to nothing. It's just the cost of doing business.
Yeah, and then you're going to pay them an interest-only payment over the life of that loan. Typically, this is going to be a short-term loan, low as 6 months. I've seen hard money loans 3 months, but as high as 18 months, give or take. Some of them 24 months, right, depending on what you're doing. And that's typically how a hard money lender is going to structure their deals. Right. So what you got to understand about a hard money lender is just like anybody else that you want to borrow money from, your credibility is everything. Right. So how they're going to evaluate your credibility is your credit score, of course, and your history of your track record if you have invested in real estate already. So if you've invested in real estate already, they want to know what have you done? What was the outcome of it? So if it was a flip, they want to know how much you bought it for, how much you sold it for. Because what that's going to tell them is if you're doing good deals or not. If you bought property for $100,000 and you sold it for $120,000, they're like, man, this boy probably don't know what he's doing. You know what I mean?
He still got, realtor fees. He probably made $4,000.
If that, you might be lucky.
You know what I
mean? Because if you borrow money for that, then that's
you gotta pay all that.
Yeah.
So let's say this person doesn't have any credibility. He just got the $40,000.
If they don't have any credibility,
credit score. And just the deal has to make sense.
Yeah, but the deal has to make sense. But if you are someone that does not have any real estate experience going into dealing with a hard money lender, I think the most important thing that you want to do, and I hate to beat a dead horse, is investing in your education. And I say this because when you go to that hard money lender, you only get one time to make a good impression, a first impression, right? We know that saying. What I mean by that is when you come to that lender with that deal, that first deal, you want to make sure the numbers make sense on paper. You want to make sure you have done more than your due diligence with the rehab budget or what it's going to cost you in today's market. And you want to make sure you have a very thorough outcome of how the property is going to be stabilized, whether you plan to sell it or whether you plan to refinance it and hold it as a buy and hold property. So that's your exit strategy. When you come to a lender with those things laid out, your credibility is more established because they're going to evaluate you strictly based off of, are you going to be able to pay me my money back?
I never thought that. You got one chance. You got one chance to, make a good impression. Like going on like a date or something like that.
Yeah.
But on the back end, you might be able to get financed the rest of your life.
Yeah, but see, now on the flip side of it, if it doesn't go well, what happens now is that lender may be a little bit more apprehensive to do the deal with you. They might just straight up, flat out tell you, hey, you know what? Thanks, but no thanks. I don't want to do this.
Because this hard money lenders aren't like Wells Fargo. They got full right to say, nah, I'm cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So you want to make sure that you step into them correct by making sure you've done your due diligence.
And that's what people don't understand. They think they can walk in there like it's a credit union. Like you have to give me.
I think the misconception as well is that hard money lenders are going to tell you the things that you don't know. Like I think a lot of people try to skip the process and say, I'm going to go straight to the lender and I'm going to deal with them myself, right? And to a lesser degree, it's like when you've heard people having an insurance broker, right? Or an insurance adjuster to deal with the insurance company, kind of like a middle person, right? And sometimes you need that middle person that might be a broker, a financing broker, or
somebody
a mentor,
connect a better deal for you.
Somebody that be able to advocate on your behalf or provide consulting to you.
Right.
So when you do go there, you going in there with
prepared
prior knowledge of someone else's experiences, right? Because that's the mastermind theory, learning through the experiences of others. So like, I give you a perfect example. My very first hard money loan, bro, I had like a 13% interest rate.
That's high.
Very high. 13% interest rate and like a 5% origination fee.
Yo, that's high. So people don't even know, like that's 5%
it might have been,
or whatever the loan is.
More like 14%.
That's high.
Yeah, and I had excellent credit too. And what
would you consider a good rate now?
Like
8, not your numbers,
but 9%, 2 points.
Yeah, so you had basically 5 points over what you would consider good, 5% over what you consider good, and maybe like 3 points higher. So, origination, 1% is 1 point is 1% of whatever the loan costs. So $100,000 loan, that's $1,000. So if you had a $100,000 loan, you pay $5,000 of cost of doing business money. I call it mob money. I'm just paying them to look the other way for me. And then now 14%, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, I didn't know any better. I was going into it blind. I had to learn as I went. But one thing about me, I'm a quick study. So like,
ain't gonna happen again.
Yeah, I got the paperwork and I started reading it over and I was like, I started breaking down the paperwork so crazy. They like, wait, hold on. Because I knew where the money was coming from. I knew who was the back end of the money and how it got. Because like sometimes what people don't know is hard money lenders aren't even lending their own money.
They lending somebody else's money.
Sometimes they could be lending like James Jones money that lives in Idaho that is he has his money or she has their money in a Roth IRA or a self-directed IRA, and they have lent it out to this person at 4%, then they lended to you at 10%.
They making a 6 in between.
Yeah, like
they wholesaling.
They wholesaling money.
They wholesaling money.
So now I started learning that. I'm like, oh, okay, all right. So
that's how this works.
I mean? So I started digging into that. Then I also started digging into like the contract that I had with the broker that had actually connected me with them. And I'm like, listen, bro,
we not doing this again.
I'm about to be doing a lot of deals.
Yeah, we not doing that again.
You either going not get no deals from me, and these people that's funding the deals not gonna get no deals from me until our contract is up, or I'm gonna have to go find another lender. And
and bridge and get you out of there.
You only owe what you negotiate. So
right.
we discussed it and we got to the bottom of it. But that's what it boils down to, bro. Like kind of just to go back to kind of your question of what advice to get to somebody with the 40. Start there first. Start with the education first. Take a couple $1,000s and invest into your time, the time with someone else that's been there. Because it's like this, right? I know for a fact if someone sat down with you and they consulted with you for an hour and they laid out 3 hard money deals that they are looking at.
Oh, I'm chopping it up.
You could break down the loans, the deals, evaluate their personal scenario with their credit and cash they have available, have them go back to the lender and save them $7,000 to $8,000, $10,000 in origination fees and interest payments and closing costs.
Yeah, that was hella worth it.
You know what I'm saying?
Hella worth it.
It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. So like people want to skip that step so bad, and they know nothing but playing themselves, and then they're gonna learn on the back. And sometimes people will get the deal done, and they confuse that with them juking the system.
Right.
And really, the reality is, you just had a little bit more cushion there that it didn't hit you as much. So you just kind of kept rolling with the punches. I was there before, like getting those 14% interest rate.
That's
and
high as
5% origination fee. I'm running around. The deal is so crazy good. I'm not even really worrying about it. Yeah, like
time. Slowly bleeding, but it's
right. It's a slow leak. You know what I mean? But like, if you know that on the front end, that extra cash now is not just one deal; it could be 2 deals.
I'm glad you said that, because that's literally the next thing I was about to ask you. So you leverage on the front end, right? You leverage 2 ways: partnership, understanding my value, understanding the value you bring, and let's see how we can connect to get the deal done. The second way, leveraging with these lenders. But then, like I said, in 2017, 2018, you started doubling up, quadrupling up. You start really playing with these houses, leveraging these loans to go ahead and double up and make something happen. So let's talk about really quickly the back end of it. Like, okay, the guy got the 40, but he only used 20 to go ahead and get the house. But then now he got the house and he got that rehab budget. Now, what I've seen you do and what we have done personally, how do you manipulate that budget within that's given to you to then go ahead and take and maybe go ahead and get a second piece, so you get a 2-for-1, which what I would say, that's what really helped you go from buying multiple properties at one time.
I would say no situation is like the next one.
Obviously, yeah.
So like it's all about just figuring out what makes sense for that particular deal. I think like it starts with being able to properly analyze a deal and understand exactly how much is going to have to go into the property, right? And then kind of reverse engineering it. For me, anytime I go on a deal, because I'm a licensed and insured general contractor and I'm the GC of all of my projects,
Right.
first thing first is I'm trying to figure out exactly where my budget is to pay myself to do the job that I'm gonna do for this particular project.
And that's interesting. You paying yourself on your jobs. Nobody talks about, well, a couple people talk about, but not everybody do that. You're making sure you're getting paid to do the work, obviously, because you would have been paying somebody else.
I think a lot of people are talking about it. I think a lot of people aren't exactly maximizing the opportunity there. I wouldn't necessarily say you're not doing it right. You do whatever you want. You know what I mean?
Right.
But like, I just say that I don't personally think they're maximizing the opportunity. And the reason why I say that is because when you understand the numbers, right, we're not talking about like, we're talking about large loans with, single digit interest rates, right? And it's important to understand that because when you have, let's just say a property where the loan amount is $180,000 and the payment is, I don't know, $1,400, right? For the loan, for a mortgage.
For the monthly payment mortgage.
The $195,000 mortgage might be 1425 to 1440.
Right.
You know what I mean? It like, could be a $40 difference or something like that. Nothing like drastically different.
However, that extra change can be put into your pocket to go fund the next deal.
Right.
So you learn how to double dip.
So now you come back. It's really not double dipping though, bro, because I always explain that it's a separate entity. So if you were, let's just go back to working in a school, right? So you a school teacher, I was a school teacher, right? As school teachers, you would be working from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., 8 p.m., 3 p.m. or whatever, right? That's your school day, right? However, there were some teachers who decided they wanted to be the basketball coach, the football coach, the tennis coach, the swim team coach, whatever.
Right.
They got paid extra for that. Because why? It's a whole nother job.
They took an extra, yeah.
It's a whole nother job. All right. So same concept when you are investing in real estate. You, the investor, Derek the investor, is buying the property as Derek the investor. The general contractor, whether you do it or another person does it, is a whole nother job in itself. The investor is not even, it's another job in terms of evaluating the deal and putting the capital up and making sure it makes sense and managing the financing associated with it, right?
Right.
But that particular function is to get the compensation on the back end over time. The general contractor is to be compensated for the here and now work that's being done. So not calculating that is one, I think not maximizing it. Two, irresponsible, because what if it's a scenario where you thought you was going to be able to do the work or you were going to be able to manage it, but you find yourself in a situation where you can't.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, we live in a day and age where, like, it's a pandemic, COVID, stuff like that. God forbid something happened to you and you unable to go to your job site for several months. You don't have a budget there to pay somebody else to do it.
Right.
I'm now in a mode where in my business, some phases of my projects, I actually pay other people to do it now. Earlier on, I was managing all of it.
Start to finish.
Right. So now it's like certain phases of it, I'm actually hiring subcontractors who are general contractors to pay them to oversee their crew, because I got other things going on. I got several projects going on. I can't do all of it at once. I can only be so many places as I continue to scale, right? And so I think it's a non-negotiable. It's one of them non-negotiables. When I'm building out a rehab budget, I start with the line item of what I pay myself and my staff or potential outsourced general contractor. If it doesn't work with that number, I don't do the deal.
That's decent though, because now, one, for one, and I want to close out with this one. Someone, like I said, someone has $40,000, right? That's all they have to their name. And let's say they go ahead and use that as a down payment and they got some change left for bills or whatever. But I see people all the time, and like you said, you don't have a problem, you have a strategy problem. I see people all the time and they're like buying houses and they're struggling during the rehab. They're like, yo, I can't eat, I can't pay my bills. It's because that I when they say that, I honestly know, I already can see that they didn't strategize correctly. They didn't plan that budget correctly, because otherwise you would have been able to make money throughout the project.
Yeah.
So it should be no reason, especially if it's a good deal,
Yeah.
there should be no reason that you having trouble paying your rent while you're working on a property. It's not back in the 60s.
Been there, done that.
It's not back in the 60s where these dudes buying houses all cash. Well, some people do, but all cash, using every penny you got into buying nails and trying to fix this house.
They looking at it in the short term like, oh, well, if I don't pay myself as a contractor, I'm saving money.
That money gonna be spent regardless.
So you saying that you willing to work for free.
Basically.
You willing to work for free because
Basically.
you as the investor is a whole nother business. The investor is a whole nother business than the contractor. That's it. It's two different businesses, two different pay scales, two different job titles, job descriptions, even tax brackets sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it has to be treated as such. As you treat it as such, you should never have an issue where you aren't getting compensation throughout a project.
So what I really learned from you, and you know, I've been new to stuff about you, but now as we sitting there talking, I really thought about some more, like identifying you more. You someone that honestly, one, leverage, we already got that, but also knows your worth, whether it's putting together partnerships or putting together a deal for yourself. Like, I know my worth. I'm a general contractor. I'm managing this project. I need to be compensated. I found this deal. I put this together. So you making sure that, and like you said, first thing first, people need to understand and know their worth. So when they're structuring out their deal, they're making sure that the deal fits for what they're worth. You know what I mean? Whether it's a partnership or your solo deal as far as setting up the loan.
Or even with going back to that $40,000 example, that person, if I fast forward back, I mean, if I just rewind it and you gave me $40,000, I knew absolutely nothing about real estate.
Well,
but
you
I
got
wanted to get
two
into
credit
real
cards,
estate.
you got $40,000. However you got it.
I'm like straight up finding somebody to go like put that money into a deal in exchange for a equity stake in the deal, and with it being detailed out that I'm here to learn the process. So I don't want just a return on my money. I want the process.
Yeah, I want some game.
Yeah, I want to learn this and I want to keep learning it. And then, but also it's very important for people to understand that, like, don't go into it thinking that 40 that you got
is really worth more than what it is.
Because like 40 to me or you for a deal is like,
that's cool.
Okay, all right, I'll give you 10% on that.
That's cool.
Maybe, you know what I mean? They like, what? Like, I need 50% equity. You're like, okay, well, go do it on your own then. You can get how about this? Go do it on your own. You get 100% equity. You know what I'm saying? They like, all right.
But what do I got to do with the? Do I just bring you cash to the close? You don't even know what you got to do,
wait,
bro.
How do I get the rest of the money for the rehab? Or, oh wait, do you got any contractors for demo? You got any contractor for framing? You got, what do I do with the permit? Oh damn, the city shut me down. 10%. Yeah, exactly. That's why you get 10% That's why.
Return.
All them questions you don't know. That's why.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, it's 8 now.
Yeah.
You know.
But no,
You know
this is good. I definitely appreciate this, and I feel like people. The one thing I took away from this conversation is, before people even get started in anything, is to identify your worth and identify what you can leverage, so you can make it make sense for not just yourself but for all parties. Because I feel like everybody. I was always told this and taught this. Everybody, going to different. One thing I realized going to different masterminds. One thing we always said. Everybody going to run room and say something. Everybody has some type of value. Everybody says something. But a lot of times people getting these real estate deals don't understand their own value to go ahead and leverage. You know what I mean? To go ahead and talk to a partner. To go ahead and talk to a lender. So they can go ahead and utilize that to make the deal make more sense for them. So they can do what you did in 2017, 2018. Double up, triple up, quadruple up. and build an empire pretty in a short amount of time.
It's the if I'm gonna leave you with one thing on as it pertains to value. People, I'm sure you got these messages before where people were like, well, yeah, I want like, come in like offer my time, like,
hey, I'll sweep up out front.
Yeah,
You
like
give me a full day of game.
Yeah, or like they're like, yeah, I just want, can you like just let me know how I can add value to you, or how something that I can do for you. And the best way that you can help someone that you want to learn from is first self-evaluate what you can actually bring to the table, right? And in that present day and moment, right? And I think how you do that is actually studying that person and figuring out where there's voids in what they have going on.
Help them identify them. So they can go fix
and then
them.
you could be like, okay, so let's say like if I'm sitting here, I'm watching Boone, and I'm like, dang, man, I love what he doing, this, that, and the third with this, man, but man, I went to his website and it ain't the best. I'm a web designer. Hey, listen,
out, bro.
I want to come in and I want to redesign your whole website. I'll do it, and then you can come check it out. All I'm asking is that in exchange, I can continue to provide that service to you while I learn from you for something in an area that I don't learn. I want to truly add value to you.
Right.
Like the concept of adding value to people is actually improving their situation, not having them pause for a second while they pour into you. And I think oftentimes people don't realize that because they don't truly understand what those phrases truly mean.
You're stopping someone's growth while they're feeding
like
you.
You want me to stop watering myself, sitting in the sunlight as I'm continuing to grow, so I can turn around and do it for you.
Yeah.
But like, how can I pick your brain and I add value to you? Is like, that's truly what it is. It's like, yo, like you really wanna get to the next level, figure out how you can actually pour into others, and the rest will take care of itself. So I've been like just training myself more to lead with like, well, what can I do for you?
Right. What
You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? And I'm not asking that person for like directly that question. I'm evaluating what they got going on and seeing, okay, I know that I can add more value here. I know that I can do this here. Oh, you don't have the scenario, like any opportunity that I can get, like boom, boom.
Noticing.
Sometimes, it's people like we, in our culture, we are a very resourceful bunch of people.
Facts.
You know what I mean?
Facts.
Oftentimes we are very resourceful on very small, minuscule topics. Often, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you want to find out who got food stamps and stuff.
Something,
Get
man.
you that
Something,
fast.
man.
You know what I mean?
There's always the something, man.
Yeah. Like we
go to chair, man. They call this
like,
man. They call this man.
Any of these random things, but we need to be like. But that same ability can be applied to. Okay, you need to
something.
Yeah, you need to find $1 million for funding. You need to find your next large contract for a new situation here. Like we can do that. Take the same amount of energy. You know what I mean?
I like that. So one thing, I appreciate you. We always talk, but I appreciate this conversation more importantly, because we always talking about specific deals or specific moves we about to make, but we never sit down and talk. Like we do, but I like this because it just had me think like, having this conversation, I thought I knew my worth. Now I'm thinking like, all right, now what really is my worth for, if I jump into another partnership outside of you and I or something like that. You see what I mean? So definitely appreciate this. Definitely, I hope people that's listening understand the first thing to do is understand, what their worth is, understand how to leverage a little better before just jumping all the way out there, end up realizing that they could have went ahead and built 2 planes on the way down instead of 1 plane because they didn't go ahead and leverage. They understand their worth. So definitely appreciate you, man, coming out. We just having a conversation. Sure. Real quick, how can you give a lot of game, I know that, but how can somebody else that don't know that tap in?
Well, Instagram, Reek Estate.
REEK.
REEK Estate on all platforms. I have an ebook, a mini series, 7 Steps to Close, the number 2, 7 Steps, number 2 close.com. They can check me out. I'm always providing value. My goal is to continue to provide value and help 100 people buy their first investment property, man. You know what I mean? So, and then, this year is 100. Next year, we about to double up. So 200 and so on and so forth. And, I just
leverage these social medias to bless the community.
Absolutely, man. Make an impact while we make income. You know what I mean?
Go.
Because that's what it's all about, bro. I want people to be able to see what we worth, what we deserve, and I believe that that's from us obtaining more wealth and cash flow, so we can be able to own our time back. You know what I mean? Own more of our time to be able to truly do what we're passionate about. You know what I mean?
We love.
Yeah.
My man, appreciate that. So
Yeah,
definitely,
bro.
thanks again for
For
coming
sure,
out.
bro.